Welcome back to the Final Phase podcast. I'm your host, sprEEEzy, and today we're going to start a long overdue topic, and that is the PUBG Esports disaster of 2019. At least towards the end, it was really in shambles. And don't get me wrong, not all was bad at PUBG Esports. There were some great moments like the PGC and PEL, certain seasons and all of that. However, it's important to know what was happening behind the scenes and start talking about what was really going on in PL and MPL specifically. Today we got a team owner, well, an ex-PUBG PL team owner. His name is Eric Hansen. He owns Desperado Esports that played in PL, but also runs a very popular chess channel called chessbrah. He's going to share his side of the story and the struggles of running a PUBG Esports team. So let's dive right in. All right, here we go. Eric Hansen is here, chess Grandmaster, ex-PUBG team owner, and all-around great guy. How you doing, man?
Hey, glad to be here. Well, it's minus 30, minus 40 this week. So it's a perfect time to do a podcast.
What is that? What is that in Celsius? I don't know.
In Celsius. In Celsius.
In Celsius.
Yeah.
Whoa, what the hell? I thought 0 was cold, but okay.
No.
Wow. Well, that's Canada, far up there.
It's Canada. Yeah. We're out here.
Yeah. So I brought you here. I wanted to have you here because you owned a PUBG Esports team called Desperado Esports. You still own Desperado Esports, but not a PUBG lineup anymore.
That's right.
You're one of the many teams that dropped their lineup during the last month or two for, well, many different reasons, I guess. But tell us about the esports team and the idea behind it and how it came to be in the first place.
Last few years, I've mainly been focusing on my own content creation and streaming chess activity. But I used to compete in Counter-Strike it's like 12, 13 years ago when I was in high school, just in the amateur leagues, SIVO and Cal, and I just loved gaming, loved it, and that was before esports was where it is today, where you have some games that are doing really well and the whole ecosystem and people making lots of money and mainstream media. So I was really happy to see that over the past few years, but about a couple of years ago, I was like, I wanted to have more of an involvement and give back or see what it's like to be involved. And I thought, okay, well, I mean, I don't think I'm a player right now or anything like that. So I can help maybe from an organizational perspective or see how I can just participate in what looks like from an outside perspective. Because there was a few years where I was living, just traveling, competing in chess, and I didn't really have a desktop. I was just like traveling all the time on my laptop, and I watched a bit on Twitch, but I couldn't get the game. So now I'm like mainly streaming on Twitch. I got a nice desktop. I get to play games. I was like, oh, this feels good. I want to get back into it. So I was looking at FPS games. That's always been sort of my favorite genre. And I was like, oh, this PUBG Battle Royale a couple of years ago started a takeoff, and that was totally new to me. Like I felt old because I'm just used to, like, again, Counter-Strike or even like Age of Empires or something, like the games I played, or StarCraft. And I was like, oh, this is exciting. It's a new take. Everything is growing. I'm seeing huge numbers of players that I'm not used to, like 1 million players on at once. And I'm like, wow. So that was like PUBG, that was Fortnite. Because both of them broke records, I think, when the games were released. So I was like, okay. And then I spent a while just learning about it, reading news, following streams. And this is about, I would say, both games, but PUBG in particular, I got into through Twitch Rivals. Not Twitch Rivals.
It was a curse, maybe, or something?
The streamer, what was the streamer?
Broadcast Royale.
Broadcast Royale. I was invited. They had a free spot, and I got invited to that, and I played. So that was my first experience with PUBG in playing it, besides watching it a little bit. And it was cool. I liked it a lot. So it was a bit organic. Like I think that's what pushed me into it a bit more. Just being able to drop in with 100 players and the survival part of it. I don't know. I just had a lot of adrenaline. It was a really good first time experience. Except that my computer was really laggy. Like streaming chess to go in, which you don't need much, then streaming PUBG. It's like amazing. Like even a decent computer, sometimes you just can't do it.
Yeah.
So that was the hard part. But no, the game itself was really fun. I was like, this is exciting. Everyone likes it right now, but it's not an esport yet. Like it was just a lot of momentum and energy, but it's not like there's a league when I was researching it. And I was like, when I looked at Counter-Strike, it's like, holy cow. I mean, they're big events, but super expensive.
Yeah, that would be expensive to get into, right?
And so from a business perspective, it's why, let's say, PUBG was attractive. Still FPS, a lot of realism there. Fun, mature though. Like there's blood and stuff like that. I like that, and whatever, all the other parts of it. The audience seemed a bit more similar to what I was used to, but it's new, so it could go really high. Who knows? But it's an exciting space to enter. So that was like summer of 2018 when I played Broadcaster Royale, and I had seen the game mainly through like I think Dr. Disrespect and Deadmau5, who used to stream a lot of it.
Yeah, before he got banned and stuff.
Producer. Exactly. Yeah. So I was like, it just seems cool, and the people streaming it are pretty relatable, and it'd be easier to invest in as a new thing. I mean, harder in a way because you don't know what's going to happen, but cheaper, I should say, it's because it's like, well, everyone's a relatively new player.
Yeah,
no one's established. There's just opportunity to get really good or build a team. So I wanted to get into esports from an organizational perspective. So then PUBG was near the top there, and I was looking at Fortnite a bit because it was mainstream. But why did I want to get into it besides being a fan? The other thing is I was having trouble getting sponsors on the chessbrah side. Our channel started to take off quite a bit more in 2018. We had some big events. Viewership went up like double, triple some months. It was growing a lot, and chess is just not that sexy.
It's different. It's different.
And I can't sell it as an esport very easily. So I was thinking, hey, if I can. When I was talking to the Logitechs, the Red Bulls, it's always been a little hard. It's like, do I present it as a sport or an esport, or we're our own category? But that makes it even harder because then feels like I'm trying to convince people like I'd rather just talk about our numbers as opposed to first having to talk almost like philosophically. Chess is good. We have good viewers. It's growing. It's an old game. Blah, blah, blah. I'd rather just be like, hey, you can accept it as something to invest in that's growing. It's part of this wave of viewership on esports and social media platforms. But getting the discussion was so hard. I was like, if we show, if people go into our channel, they'll see it's pretty exciting and pretty fast paced, but I just couldn't get a lot of those conversations going with companies, even with our viewership, even if we had 5,000 viewers.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, maybe we can also, by investing in esports, if the team does well, we can combine the numbers, sort of approach some companies and make it easier because these games are more attractive right now. They have higher viewership, but at the same time, we have our stable viewership and our core product with what we're doing in chess, and we can approach it a little bit differently, but improve our pitch to companies. Because we have something sexy and cool in esports and in particular Battle Royale. So that was like one justification because, and we'll get to this, like it was a big it was a pretty big investment. Even if it was cheaper to get into PUBG, nothing in esports is cheap right now because everyone's trying to get in and things like that. So it was still a big decision to make. So.
When did you enter the market?
Yeah, so in September 2018, we picked up a couple Fortnite players, and I actually didn't know too much about Fortnite. I always feel like I can understand skill a little bit from shooting and my mechanics there, but it's still different in these games, especially Fortnite with farming and building and that. Picked up a couple players there in September 2018. And September 2018, I was speaking with a lot of PUBG players at that point, and learning about the scene, but I didn't invest at that point. Firstly, because leagues were finishing at the time or in progress, but that was before the league year. So
yeah,
I was just watching like Awesome and Star Ladder events. Another thing was I met a couple PUBG players through our channel. So I met Bahawaka at a US. He came to me. Apparently he likes chess a bit. So I met him at a PAX East earlier that year. So he's like, "Oh, I'm a PUBG player on."
He played for one of the big teams.
Optic at the
yeah.
time. And so, okay, I learned a bit about that from him as well. That helped. And then Ultra.
Ultra, one of the players later
was also one who ends up was also in our channel sometimes a fair amount, and he's from Norway, and Norway's a big chess country, so there's a lot of overlap there. But so a couple of guys who were actively playing. I think he was on Red Diamonds at the time, something like that. But he was
Diamond Dogs.
Diamond Dogs. Sorry, Red Diamonds. The Diamond Dogs, and so it was cool that I could actually ask some people questions and watch them play and learn a bit about the scene at the time. It just looked pretty exciting. And that was all, again, summer. We're talking about 2018, summer, September. That's after Worlds in July, which was pretty successful. Looked good from my perspective.
Yeah.
Really exciting.
From everyone's perspective.
So everything,
I guess,
I was getting information. I was watching events. I had people being friendly and optimistic about everything. So I spent some time there talking to people and players. But I didn't pick up a roster until January 2019. So after the first stage of qualifiers, which was like November 2018 for the new PEL system that they ended up announcing. So I spent about 5 months learning and watching and figuring it out. Also, the system was a little disorganized at first, so if you didn't have a team that was already directly invited, you weren't sure what you were necessarily getting into.
Exactly.
It just made sense to almost wait for a team to qualify and pick them up, because you don't want to pick up a team. They don't make it through opens, and then you're like,
So Contenders was good enough for you to pick up, just being in Contenders League at that point.
It looked like the only option at that point. Interestingly enough, when I spoke, I was like just this chess guy messaging people. I was going on Discord and just like asking questions, but I was watching events and trying to guess, who's unsigned and good right now. So we ended up signing a Contenders roster, as you mentioned, in January. But I had spoken to, I'd heard about Sauna Boys. I think from Finland, ended up being Windstrike and doing pretty well, and also the Ents lineup. So I was like, those are a couple teams, and then the guys I was talking to were former Team Singularity. That was Calvin and Tauzera. So those who we ended up picking up, but I was just speaking to a lot of the unsigned teams, reading Reddit, watching events, and saying, what's a good opportunity? But at the time, by January, it looked like there weren't as many opportunities to get a direct PL team. And I thought, hey, this is what I thought to myself. Like, who am I kidding? I'm new into esports, especially from an organizational perspective. And getting into PEL for the very first phase, you got to get a place there. You got to know what you're doing. And I'm like, I'd rather build it up and treat it as a learning experience to build a team. Plus, it's like probably going to be a little cheaper, but I don't want to just on short notice get a team and just not know how to run it and have no experience, communication and infrastructure. So I was like, Contenders isn't bad to start off with. It's online, it's manageable, and we can learn as we go a little bit. We're still ambitious about it, but I was like, it doesn't have to be a PEL team phase one.
Mhm.
Because it's like they announced the 5-year plan. So it's
Yeah.
more about building. That's what really, by the that announcement is what got me to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And be like, I want to find a roster. It was the 5-year plan. Because it's like, then it's like you have time, you can build up. You know what you're getting into. And that
Yeah.
was like, that was the final green light. And I was like, okay. So that's why I wasn't in a rush as much. But yeah, that's a bit of the history there. And so a lot of this is just me trying to find information and learning as I go. So I can't say it was like, hey, we had this big meeting and corporate investors and we're like, this is PUBG. And that was honestly at first just me wanting to get into it. I do like the idea of it's a risky endeavor, but I don't mind investing in different areas. And especially here, it's a little more aligned to what we do because at least we're content creators and it's relatively close to esports. It's not like, I don't know, buying a restaurant or something.
Yeah.
So like we can try this out. And I hope it'll actually help both sides, the chess side with our content there and our trying to get advertisers and esports side, maybe we can contribute as well. So yeah, that's sort of how I approached it at first and how I got into it. Yeah, but there was a lot of, I spent about 4 or 5 months scouting things out and learning about the scene.
Yeah, it's great to hear, especially for someone that wasn't in the esports scene before, trying to get in and get in a team. I think not that many people are like completely new to something that want to start an esport team, and I think that's great what you did. But tell us about the team itself. How many people are working in the team outside of you and the players playing? Do you have anyone else doing the graphics and management?
Yeah, so another thing that was a little bit easier is we have some full-time people with chessbrah, like a graphic designer, video editors. So I was like, hey, on that side of things, they can work with the esports team as well. It's, you know, so I don't have to get new people. So I was like, we can lend what we already do to chessbrah to the team on the graphic side if we have to help with videos, maybe marketing for social media, merchandising. We run our own store. So some things are related that are like, hey, we can just use that. But at first, it was mainly just me. And then, again, we would use our guys if they were needed for graphics and things like that. But we had no team manager besides just myself. And then Aman, who helps run chessbrah with me, started getting involved more into it. But he was learning about, he has no gaming background for especially FPS or PUBG. So I sort of talked to him to it, and over time, he got interested and he got involved a lot more and even traveled with the team to Berlin. Yeah, the one thing I'll say is, yeah, so when I was doing Counter-Strike, I usually was the one submitting the rosters, finding players, doing stuff like that. But now, like fast forward 10, 12 years or whatever, it's like salaries, it's like LAN events. It's a lot more serious now, casually. So I was really like, this isn't just putting together a group of guys and not play qualifiers or something. I want to be really professional about it. So just another reason is like, I just don't have that experience. So Contenders, it was really me listening to the players, even when approaching rosters or like decisions. I felt like I had some understanding, but I don't consider myself an expert, especially in PUBG. So it was really speaking to the players, and they had a lot of creative control, like a lot of, wasn't a lot that we expected besides the practicing and things like that. So even me as a manager is like, I can help organization and whatever they're setting up computers or whatever, but not making necessarily performance decisions. So it was, first phase was not, we didn't have a lot of people.
Okay. But how did your Contender team do, and what happened to that?
Well, we had 2 guys, and then we added 2 more guys. Well, they were practicing, and phase 1 we did great. But So they did really well in Contenders. Usually finish first or second in the normal season. But phase 1 is when PUBG canceled the qualifier for PEL. So we got screwed over phase 1, and that was, I would say, the first experience of me feeling like, what the heck is this? How can they do that? I was happy to invest in a Contenders team and build a roster and chemistry, and I always had that approach. I didn't want to buy a team just with superstars. It's like, hey, you know, we can apply maybe some things we have in chess, and we've had some good results, and you know, we know how to, like, at least we have some experience winning on our side. It's like, it's not always about buying a roster, but we wanted a chance to qualify for PEL. Like, that is still the goal of the team and of the guys. And I'm sure I was paying one of the best salaries in Contenders, because I was like, you guys are going to be PEL players, or working towards this, and I want you guys to be able to have more freedom to train and practice, as opposed to, let's say, you have to work a job all the time and things like that. At least help where I can. I mean, so it was really a goal, just like work on trying to get into PL. That's the only goal. Don't care too much about streaming right now. Don't care too much about just chemistry.
Just get in there.
Just get in there. And the team was really clicking in phase 1 and doing really well. But they PUBG, they canceled the PEL qualification tournament, which they would have qualified for. I think we finished in 6th in Contenders. In the so, and I think like top 12 teams go to the LAN in Berlin. 6th was a bit of a, it was okay, I think, but like it was well within the range of one of the best teams fighting for a PEL spot. That they were at least what I'd sort of expected, the way that they were playing, and they had high expectations for themselves too. So it was like, yeah, we got salaries, everyone's feeling good, they're playing good, they got a chance for PEL, it's everyone's dream. And then phase 1, they removed that. So that was pretty crappy. And I was like, well, what can I do? Like, I'm not used to this. Like, this was guaranteed, and what do we do? But okay, what can you do?
That situation was really like
what
dubious.
What can you do? I mean, it's not the players' fault. It's not our guys' fault. So we just rolled with it. And like, okay, another 3 or 4 months, we'll make it count. But looking back, that was like, it sucks, because it was about, in my head, 3-4 months where maybe we would have been in PEL sooner than we had been.
Yeah. And
I can say for sure I wouldn't have probably got a roster if I knew there was no chance to make
obviously
it. Or I wouldn't have paid like, the salaries would have been different.
I mean, contender teams typically don't even have salaries, even if they're signed. So you guys were like, you guys had a premium team right there in the contenders, you know. And
yeah. I was like, I don't want to enter like one thing. I was like, I see a lot of bad stories in esports about shady organizations as well, and I was pretty familiar with that, and I see how it happens. I was like, I don't want to enter in cheap or look a little. We're gonna try to be, like, honestly, as nice and take care of people how I would want to be treated if I was a player. And I have a bit of that, again, like that experience. Just chess isn't the same, but I deal with organizers. I play on some teams, and how I would want to be treated, and so we wanted to come out, even if we're like paying more than we should be. It's like, people will appreciate that. The players will work hard, and it's okay. So yeah, a lot of teams, as you said, we're not getting paid or signed, but we're like, this is a PL caliber team, and we want to tell the guys that they're worth it. We're willing to take a risk on them. But so that sucked. That sucks from my perspective, not having the PEL chance, because at the end of the day, that's the ceiling. The viewership in contenders was like way lower, obviously, than PEL and prizes and things like that. It's really just investing in the team to get there. So we lost a few months there. same time, we're gaining experience. On the bright side, we're like managing the team. Went to our first LAN event, and yeah, so that was phase one, but it had a bit of a sour taste because the team, yeah, I feel like the team. Well, actually, it was easier to get into PEL during that qualification.
Yeah, I was about to say the PL teams back then were really weak compared to like the top, so it was the time to get in for sure.
Yeah, I really viewed it as such too. Like when I was looking at it, there were some weaker teams there, and it's only going to get stronger. So I was like, look, I got a team, right place, right time. We got a good chance to make it. Have that chance. So yeah, that was my first bad experience. And
first bad experience.
But we had signed the guys to a couple phases. So what can you do? Let's try to be very hungry and make it the next phase.
Yeah,
that was the approach. Use this as motivation, maybe.
Yeah. So what happened in phase two then?
Well, so one thing is the guys did well in the Kickoff Cup, which was the compensation from PEL, like a LAN event with prizes with PEL and Contender teams. They did well there. They got like 6th there. So 6, but it was like mainly PEL teams in the final lobby. And
yeah.
So at least that was a prize and consolation. But phase 2, I was like, okay, we want to build upon it, what we were doing. But as I said, I was doing it myself. Amon started helping, but we're not PUBG experts and we don't want to pretend to be. So we added a coach in phase 2 for the guys, and I thought he could. It's still a Contender team, so you don't need a house manager. So they can also help a bit with managing, making sure people are, practicing.
Mm-hmm.
So we tried to just kept the same roster and just added the coach and like, let's just get better and make no mistake about making PEL. And same story there, except at the qualification event, things went rough.
Yeah.
Things were really rough. It was like do really well in the regular season, and then, it was a little the guys. I don't know. We just did not perform. And it's tough. It's like a 3-day event, right?
Yeah, and it's PUBG,
It's
you
PUBG.
work so
it's
hard,
PUBG, so I know
and then comes to single elimination or something, and it's gone.
Yeah, I know it can happen. So when we finally got our chance, and we did well in the regular season again, this time we didn't make it. It was a stronger lobby, but okay, the team definitely underperformed by everyone's expectations, including their own. But it will happen in PUBG, and it just sucks because everyone's goal, the roster, ourselves, make it to PEL, and so that was phase 2.
Yeah. So how do you move on? Well, you guys, their contracts were ending then, or
the contracts were ending. And again, like we had added a coach, so it's like we're willing to invest a little bit more. We still want to do everything right, but their contracts were ending, and as I learned more about the scene throughout 2019 too, it's like, if we're paying salaries, you can even get, you're in the discussion of picking up just a PEL team at this point. There were still some opportunities there and unsigned teams. So, but the first thing I did though, I was pretty busy on the chess side, so I was like, the contracts ended. We're going to take a step back and just think about what we're going to do, because first 8 months of the year, didn't make it to PEL, had a couple rough ends. Like the regular seasons were good and fun to watch, but the end of phase 1, end of phase 2, we didn't achieve our goal. And throughout all this, the goal is PEL, not just like, oh, hey, we want to reach this. It's like, to get sponsors, you pretty much need to be in PEL. Yeah. There's no there's no viewership in Contenders enough to really make a state, like to really say, hey, like we have good viewership, or this is the thing. No, it's PEL where the viewership is higher, the players, the streamer, everything is just bigger, and that's what companies are. in. So
Definitely.
from the business perspective, telling the guys, hey, spending money on this team is going to help our chess side. Plus, we want to make the PUBG parts more sustainable instead of completely out of pocket. Well, we can't do that in contenders. I like the guys. We can't pay to stay in contenders. So we took a step back and we're just looking around and seeing what was going on at the time. And some teams had contacted me. So a couple teams that were making it to PEL. So yeah, I started thinking, do I want to stay in? Originally in my head, because I thought it was important, my friends were like, Eric, you got to think about this. For entering PUBG or esports, this big investment, how long are you willing to go without the result? And I was like, I'll try a year. So I still had one phase in me at the time. Like, we can cut it off now, or we can still have that one phase. And I was like, if we're going to do any more PUBG, it's going to be in PEL. Because we're already paying, and even if we had to, spend more, you get a lot more in PEL. So let's see if there's any opportunities there. If there's none, and a couple teams had reached out to me. So one thing that I should mention throughout all this is you're probably wondering, like, why Europe in all of this?
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're Canadian, and
so it makes sense, right?
We were picking up Norwegian, our Norwegian roster. It was just for me watching the leagues and everything. I this impression and looking at the viewership that Europe was stronger, both in player base, both in tournaments. When I was looking at like GLL, and I was just like, it looked like there were bigger events there, bigger players, more organizers, and the viewership was simply higher. And okay, I go to Europe a fair amount, so it wasn't like it's like maybe from doing business it's harder in time zone, but we used to live there. It's not at least like totally random. Europe is the hub for chess, so
Yeah.
I've always had like, I guess, a bit of respect for it there. Like, and PUBG, we see the competitiveness too. People trash talking different regions. I appreciate all that, but it looked like Europe was stronger to me from an investment perspective because the top of it had higher viewership potential, and that North American orgs that I liked a lot, like FaZe and TSM and Liquid, were in EU. It's like,
yeah,
well, that's not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence. So, and we want to be there competing with those guys because they bring viewers, they bring players. The overall investment seems more attractive, even if it's more expensive. Because in NA, there was opportunities to get good players, but it just seemed, yeah. I had that impression, and I went with it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
But did you get any sponsors while you had the team going? Did you get any sponsors for Desperado? So everything you were doing was coming out of your pocket, and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything was out of pocket. We weren't in a position where I was like desperate for sponsors. If it was like, hey, we'll give you like $100 a month, and your players have to wear this. It was like, we want like proper partnerships, long lasting with respectable companies, because even on the chessbrah side, sometimes you get opportunities we don't take because they ask you to do a lot, and it's just a bad deal. It's almost like taking advantage of people. So we wanted like to wait. We'd rather wait and spend a little bit more to get some proper partnerships. That was the goal, as opposed to like just some like shady stuff. And again, we weren't in PEL yet at the time, so I was like, well, if we're not in PEL, I mean, simply put, like the view, the team, the followers, it's just there's not enough fans there or whatever to really to make a good case to get sponsorship. So
you went into PL for phase 3. So what team did you get, and how did that work out?
Yeah, we picked up Beşiktaş. They'd reached out to me. I had known Ultra, known some of the guys because that was a Norwegian roster, and our previous team was Norwegian, or had 2 Norwegian players. But they were looking for a new organization. Simply put, they had some bad experiences from what I heard. So I was chatting with them about it. At the end of the day, we came to an agreement on pretty short notice. I spent a lot of time still trying to figure out, do I really want to, and on short notice, can I really set something in Berlin? At the time I was traveling, but we decided to make one last. We agreed if we're going to do another phase. At this point, though, there's a lot of pessimism around the game.
Mm-hmm.
Already by summer of 2019, like, we know that not everything is sunny on PUBG side with esports, and orgs are unhappy and teams are dropping out. So there's that which is in my mind, which wasn't there before. When I was first investing, it's like exciting, it's going to grow, blah, blah, blah. At this point, it's like I'm still optimistic, but I'm a lot more cautious.
Yeah.
I do want to say one thing throughout all this is I had no emails or communication with PUBG, or even for the most part Star Ladder as a team owner and contenders. There's so little communication. I simply didn't know what was going on most of the time, and I had to get it through players, other people. But there was almost never any communication, like, to me as the team manager or the owner, like tournaments or just anything. It was just like I had no one to reach out to within PUBG or Star Ladder that would get back to me, or it just like, it wasn't like some sort of weekly thing. Hey, team managers, team owners, this is what's happening. It was just like it was pretty silent there. So I didn't really know what was going on. I wasn't happy about that. It felt like, yeah, just it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
So PEL phase 3, picked up a team, short notice, get them in Berlin, and I'm like, I definitely can't do this. I don't expect guys to just go there, solve it. Let's get a house manager, team manager in Berlin, and we had to do everything in about 2 weeks, like get the players signed, get an apartment, get computers, and so my August was pretty stressful. But we decided to make one last push. That was the point of the story. So we picked up that team and got them in Berlin, and then wasn't necessarily the way we wanted to approach it. Like, the roster didn't make it there, but we simply had to do it. So we went with this new roster, got them in Berlin, and they were a contenders team that had just promoted. So there were a lot of unknowns there on how they performed.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought they were a strong roster, but I truly didn't know. I mean, and it's just a different experience playing in the PEL. And that was interesting. Perspective of me a bit as a fan. Like, I'm trying to help the team do well. I'm trying to eventually find sponsors and do what I can. But I'm a fan of the game. I'm learning as I watch. So it was cool to watch and everything, and also stressful. But it was very much like still like relying on the players for their performance. But in this case, for phase 3, we had an analyst and a team manager. So I was trying to gather more opinions and do things right. I was just trying to follow the formula.
So you basically gave the players the same conditions that FaZe or Liquid have, like the top teams, maybe outside of salary, but with the accommodation, with the gear and everything else, the people around them, the manager and coach.
Yeah. So again, I didn't want to. It just doesn't make any sense for me. I'm already made to invest. I'm not going to. What's the point of paying for a roster and trying to save money on an apartment if it's further away from the venue or it's worse? Well, that will affect our performance. If I'm going to invest, I sort of have to commit to it. So we did an apartment, hopefully good computers. I think the players liked it. An analyst, team manager to help with everything else. I tried. I definitely didn't do everything perfect. Definitely learning a lot of lessons. But in terms of that aspect of it, I didn't have a problem investing more and trying to make sure everyone was comfortable.
Yeah. So when it comes to communication now, when you were in PL, communication between you and PUBG, how did that work? Or at Star Ladder, guys like that?
Well, I had such a bad experience communicating before, and I also just don't have the time to like chase chase people around for simple answers, which was so frustrating with PUBG and Star Ladder. That was like a serious justification. Where it's like if we're doing PEL, there's going to be more communication required. It's in person, everything like that. That's where the manager comes in, and so I was just like, that was a responsibility of theirs to do, to be the to handle the communication between the leagues and the game and our team, because I just had no faith in it, but I also just didn't have the time or patience like to just
Yeah.
try to get information. It was just yeah, it was I was like, I'm done on that side of things. Other people can help out, and let's add more people.
Yeah.
I just can't run our normal business, so let's get some more hands involved.
Yeah. But what about the issues coming up in phase 3? What were the biggest issues that you faced as a team or as a team owner in phase 3, especially when it comes to the end?
As a team, one thing that happened is we just horribly. The team was performing bad, communication was bad, and that was when it was one of the first times that I stepped in and I was like, God, this is just bad. Like, we got to fix it. We had a lot of meetings because it was just an awful start. And it was clear there were a lot of individual and team mistakes being made. And that's like where we were a bit more hands-on. It's like, no one's happy about it. Let's turn things around. We have to, or make changes. So that was the first thing. Like, that was a little unexpected. Like, you want the team to run well, but okay, let's say the performance takes care of itself a little bit.
Wait, you were 16th or something after a while, or 15th, or what was the?
We were 16th, 15th for the first. Oh yeah, It was just like our average time alive was 16, like was 2 minutes. It was just like we were dying early game.
Yeah.
It was really rough. It was tough to watch. Like, so that was one of the first things. Like, it took a lot of time to get an apartment, late notice, getting the computers. We had to boot camp a little bit because we didn't have our setups right away. But by the first couple of weeks into the season, performance was the main concern. When you asked about the issues, one of the main issues that was really apparent in phase 3, and I think people noticed, just there's a lot of pessimism about PUBG and PEL because there's a lack of communication. There was no schedule of things being released, and just somehow everyone, there's a reason to be negative, and I was negative. And there's a reason, but like, there wasn't necessarily one glaring issue. It's like, we don't know if there's going to be a league next year. The viewership isn't going up. Maybe there's problems with the map, or they didn't release. People are unhappy about Sandhawk and things like that. There just wasn't a lot of. There wasn't anything positive. Skins being implemented, viewership wasn't going up. I wouldn't say there was any particular issue that stood out to me. I mean, I was just focused on getting the guys set up and the team performance, and being like, hey, our goal, by the way, the goal for PEL phase 3 was to stay in PEL, because I didn't expect this team to challenge for like top 5 or something. I was trying to be realistic. Like, PEL is getting tougher. The level really started to go up.
Yeah.
In the league. That was my impression. So it's like, let's learn from our games, get experience, and build on that. So in that side, I wasn't like, hey, this is a roster, they have to be top 6. Let's just try to improve and just try to take it like that. And then if we can stabilize there, it's going to make it a lot easier for me to approach companies, to just, we actually have a vision in future stable PEL squad. At least that's close to the peak if you're a Western team, is you just want a team in the top league that's competitive and then you grow your players as personalities, as streamers, and then you have the other stuff to do. But you want to be stable. You don't want to be worried about relegation and then everything. All your good plans and they just disappear. It's useless if the team gets relegated. So that was the goal. That was all. So, and the issues unrelated to performance were mainly just like, we don't know if there's going to be a league next year. You know, then there's always like like viewership is going up, it's going down. At least when I did my research, that's wasn't. If you look closely, yeah, you could definitely tell that. Team skins were never released, and that was a promise, and that was a big one for orgs. And I understood that. It wasn't why I got into it. I didn't think it would be, but I totally understood. Like, it was definitely something we want to be a part of, and part of the revenue share. Like, even if they had implemented it, yeah, again, it's not going to cover us, but it's a good start. It's like part of building a sustainable ecosystem. But there's just nothing. There's nothing done positive. It's pretty much like, it sounds harsh, but the issue was there's just almost no good news, only bad news, and people are just getting used to that, and there's just always this bad feeling about where things are headed, because if there's no good news, it's like money doesn't, it's not going to stay there forever. These are big prize funds. PEL is 400,000 plus. It's expensive to run the whole league. Viewership's not going up. In my eyes, I see Starlighters not a great, like, they don't have a lot of sponsors. Like, no one's winning. Like, the viewership's not going up. Teams aren't making money. PUBG's not making money. Esports. It's just like, either the ecosystem grows and everyone works together, or it like dies. Like, and there's just nothing being done to build the value of the leagues and the teams. Also, the league was long. That's good for us, getting experience, getting more consistent viewership, but it definitely didn't feel more exciting in some ways. Like leagues, I was interested in the leagues from an org perspective, but as a viewer,
it wasn't the best
formula.
Format.
There was something lacking a bit, especially when it was only leagues. Like, there was no off season, there's no third party. There's nothing else. So that's what I mean about the schedule. It's like, it was only PEL, but besides that. But yeah, I wouldn't say there's any big issue besides, hey, lack of communication, which is internal. Like, people have heard that, but okay, like, orgs experienced it. But I mean, as a fan, you hear about that, you don't see it. But as a fan, you see there's no team skins. You see that, people aren't happy about maybe map selection. People aren't happy about viewership or rules or things. Those are the outward facing, like, things people notice. But yeah, on the internal side, it's mainly just communication, revenue share, schedule, just lack of schedule, lack of like things to plan for, and you need to plan to develop good things. Teams. Do I keep my place in Berlin? Can I tell a sponsor there's going to be PEL next year? There's just none of that. So I wouldn't say anything for me necessarily triggered it. I see why, especially orgs were there since the start. They were promised team skins. They didn't get like a lot of broken promises. Because we were learning on the way, I was tolerant of it, or let's say naive. But I was still unhappy about it. It just wasn't a maker at that point. Whereas, let's say some teams already were dropping phase 3. Let's say NA has already been taking hits throughout the year.
Yeah.
I was still a little more okay with EU, Europe, sort of PL. The viewership is still there a little bit. We still got the main orgs in there, so I was still like optimistic. But like, it's just like, where's the growth? I mean, this is the growth year. I mean,
sure,
PUBG's not going to make money, but the viewership and people are, and it's just like, no, there's just almost no positive news of how teams can make money. No ideas or things implemented on how the league can make money for themselves, or PUBG ideas of boosting viewership. No, none of, like, just, it doesn't have to be money related. Growing viewership, connecting the player base with esports, like the big PUBG player base with actually watching esports, whether that's embedding within PUBG, or I don't know, using the PUBG Twitch channel instead of PEL having their own Twitch channel, anything like that. There's just
a lot of
every
things.
decision.
Yeah,
almost in my, like, I've never seen such bad marketing in my life and such bad communication. And chess is pretty bad, but it is stable. the way PUBG was just like, I really did disagree with most decisions, and it wasn't because like as a fan, like it was just like it just didn't make it was just truly bad. Like no one benefited. It wasn't one that like some people liked and some like everything in the end was like a net negative, and that's just unfortunate. That's just unfortunate. Like I can't take a lot of positive things from it, and we didn't have a say really, right? It wasn't like I was emailed about decisions or consulted, or that there were meetings once a month between the league and org owners. Just none of that. It really is. You just wait for bad news and you read it on Twitter or Reddit. It really was. I didn't get emails. I've contacted PUBG. I really like as an owner for a year. I got like my first email. Yeah, I got my first email from a PUBG, I would say, representative this year. So in 1 year, $100,000 later, I got my first email. Now it was about rev share phase 3.
So what happened? Oh yeah, I was about to ask. Like there was some kind of revenue share, but it was for PEL shirts and stuff.
Was the shirts or bats or something?
No, the bats were an MPL, but I think it was like hoodies, PL hoodies or some sort of.
Well, yeah.
It's like buying a Champions League T-shirt with Real Madrid and Barcelona playing in the finals, and you buy a Champions League, T-shirt. Yeah. It makes no sense at all. So
no, yeah, it was, but I never, yeah, and so something about revenue share this month, but in the last year there was no communication and no real feedback or ways to like work together, players, the orgs, and the game to. Team skins, custom skins, viewership, just anything. It's just crazy to me. I don't know. Like we either all benefit and work together, or it's all gonna collapse. And I'm just a big fan of the game. At the end of the day, that's like the foundation of it. Yeah. I'm more upset from that sense. I just see a wasted opportunity.
Yeah,
and I don't like the so far. But yeah, that's a bit of an outsider perspective. Again, had a team. New into it though, I'm not really experienced, but I tried to be as optimistic and support the scene how we could, and that's getting our even chess viewers to watch, and we got our guys supporting our team and things like that. But there were a lot of questions.
Yeah,
like Eric, why does it take so long between games on the broadcast? I mean, a chess game can last up to 6 hours, but and that sometimes we're just thinking about a move, but 40 or 30-minute breaks without games, it's 2020 2019. It's just you can't do that. I don't know, something has to and things like it's just not a viewing experience. So
yeah,
even the chess fans are sometimes noticing it's going to get better, guys. They're short. Or how can we support the team? How can I buy a skin? I don't know. It's frustrating, but other people have more reason to react. Players who have spent a lot of time, orgs who spent more money and time and everything. I really see I didn't tweet. I really didn't feel like I was an expert on some things. I was learning and just asking questions, but I totally get why people are tweeting and leaving and just venting their anger. But that was always there. Like again, by phase 3, you could just tell things were a little off. The one thing that I guess kept people engaged is global, the global event in Oakland. That some teams were competing for that, but for everyone else, it's like you don't know when your next event is going to be. There's there's just nothing to look forward to. You have no events, no off season, and you're losing money, right? Because you're not winning any prize, and you're not getting like those teams are in iffy spots. So
what do you think? How much the whole endeavor like costed you when it comes to?
Yeah, I was saying I did that recently, and it was close to 100,000 for the year. Yeah, about that.
That was that's a lot of money.
And it is. It's definitely the biggest investment I've made. I'm not like depressed about that as much as I am just sad of a missed opportunity. Like that wasn't, just like there were so many people investing their time that we're not going to get that back, and it could have been so much more. It really could have been. I think the game has potential. That's why I picked PUBG over other battle royales. Like, as a viewer and as a player, when it's optimized both from a playing perspective and from viewing perspective, I think it's more exciting, and I think it's got some really good. There's a good formula behind it, but all that is like theoretical, because in practice there's a huge disconnect right now, and it's just being run terribly. But today, it's funny, we're doing it today. There's even more news, right? It's 2020. We just NA news for PUBG, and more teams have dropped out every week, and it's just not getting better. Like, I like to be optimistic, but right now I finally at the end of 2019, when they canceled the league and just so many unknowns, and I just couldn't get in. I pulled the trigger, and we released the roster. But yeah, that's a bit of my perspective. It's like crazy. It's one thing I was thinking about. Like, our team, we finished the first week of October. PEL. If you didn't make it to Worlds, you finished first week of October. You have no event until March.
Or April.
That's 5 or 6 months. Or April. Yeah. That's 5 or 6 months. So orgs are paying salaries. The players, as a player, you actually want to play. You don't want to salary and not play. Anyways, everyone feels bad about it. How's that? 5 or 6 months? I just like, it's brutal. But you don't even know what the events. It's just, it feels like, and of course, yeah, reading the news, PUBG staff are leaving, orgs are leaving, players, whatever. It's like, again, it's always negative. It really feels like the only way to turn around would be a really good group effort. But that already immediately starts with working with the teams and the players. And that's not the case. Like, in the decisions being made right now, that's still not, players are not being consulted, teams are not being consulted. And there's no way without that being done that I think they're going to turn it around.
But so from your perspective, it's not the game being forced too much into esports, and that it's more like it's been mismanaged as an esport, but it could have been a great esport.
I think so. I like the esport potential. I even think whether the league or not was successful, like, leagues have some downside. I don't think that's what killed it. I really think, even the leagues, if we maybe had a few more third-party events in the off seasons, sort of like how they have in Asia, because Asia, PUBG's doing, and they have leagues. It's not what killed it. It's really what's killing it. It's the mismanagement of PUBG Esports or PUBG Corp, and really not knowing what sells or what does well and what people can watch. I'm not sure what it is. It's like the marketing's a lot worse than games like, let's say, I don't know, League of Legends or Overwatch or something. Like, just it's just not professionally run, and it doesn't seem like it's changing though.
Yeah,
it just doesn't. But it's, I don't know. I'm always going to preface this with saying I'm not an expert on PUBG. I'm just a fan here, but from a business perspective, for sure, I know my job. Everyone's losing. That's not a good thing. Simply, no one's. It should be that everyone's making money, or I'm just making. The views are growing. Like, money growth is. I don't mean growth by money. It's more like views are going up. New ideas are being implemented. Popular changes. The player base of the actual game goes up. Anything like that, it's happy to me. It doesn't have to. We weren't looking to make any profit or any real financial return on PUBG, but growth is obviously what you're looking for, and feeling respected as an owner, and feeling part of the process of, hey, we're all going to make this 5-year plan or PUBG and esport. And there's really never ever been a feeling of that, and the results show.
Well, what do you think is going to happen to PUBG Esports in the next year or two?
I think it's going to consolidate, as it has been. Going to downsize, and even if it's going to continue to shrink, there's going to be fewer players, fewer salaries, fewer salaries, fewer players. There's still going to be some good pockets of viewership, because it's a good game and it's good in Asia, but it's not like, I don't get the impression it's like one of those cases of doing poorly. It's like, we're going to fire this person, and then we're going to hire the best guy from that company. I'm going to poach him from a company that's doing well, and he's going to turn it around. They're reducing costs, but not like hiring more competent people probably, or like it's not one of those cases where you actually see this is going to be turned around because they're doing smart changes. Like, sure, canceling the league system maybe saves them money, and that's a smart change. It saves a lot of money instead of having a stadium in Berlin, blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't like that. It's like they're getting rid of a lot of things, and it's not like there's a compensation for it. Like, we're going to make it leaner and better and all. Right now, it's like, I have no idea where it's going, but you don't get the feeling that they're learning from their mistakes. They're just making the easy choices of cutting, and maybe it looks like almost it's hard to imagine it's going to be better run now when there's maybe fewer people working on the scene, right? It's like, are the people they're hiring now better? Like, they're going to hire one person who can do 3 people's job, like they're so good? Sure, there are cases like that where, of course, like companies fire employees. Maybe they have too many employees, they have too many things going on, and they change it for the better. You don't get that impression here that have someone brought in to fix the problem and change things. I don't get that impression. I don't know, but I know they're not communicating it at all, and we still don't know what's going on.
Yeah, but let's look at it from PUBG Corp's perspective. When they started the game, I think they had maybe like 20 people working on the game, and they had to employ hundreds of people to all kinds of positions, and one of those positions were like esport related positions. Right. Yeah. And they got people that weren't even necessarily good at what they do, but maybe they were the only ones that just signed up. Or they just had to fill it up because, you know, esports, let's go. It's going to be in 2019, the first seasons, blah, blah, blah. We got to get this done. Just get anyone. And then they got people, in my opinion, that didn't do their job. And I think a lot of people would agree in different regions and stuff. And that all culminated with the league system falling apart because it wasn't executed well. Maybe the idea was okay, but it was maybe a little bit too much for their guys to handle, and it shows.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. Like, I don't like to say, hey, someone's incompetent, but it really has felt like most people involved are incompetent. That's like just simply the word, that they're not qualified for the job, or they don't have the vision, the ability to execute what's needed for PUBG. Because one thing I know, like, it's such a passionate esports space. People are so negative because they're so passionate about it. But there are so many people I read about on Twitter and on things that are suggesting ideas, how to grow revenue, how to grow viewership. There are so many passionate fans and players and teams suggesting ideas, brainstorming, and actually, like, people have visions and dreams. I like seeing that, like, where this could be, and that's sort of what we were part of. And it's just like, there's no outlet for that because it's like the people who seem to not have that are like people at PUBG. It's weird. Like, I've seen some good ideas from org owners. I think one of them I saw was from the manager of the Sonics. Just like how to do revenue share, how to get skins out, how to grow viewership, right? I mean, it's crazy to me that positive change, like, you and I can discuss right now things that truly would be better for viewership. And we're not qualified necessarily marketing people, but how to get more people from the player base to watch the esport, right? The embedding part took a long. How they run the Twitch, what Twitch channel it's broadcasted on, how the social media is run. There are quick fixes that just haven't been done that, like, us unqualified fans and people part of the greater community are commenting on that are the case. It's like other games. It's not like we're just like all on.
Yeah,
you're doing it like this. No, we're probably in the right here, and history is showing that. Right, but the way it's running, everyone seems to be right. PUBG is wrong, and not usually the case. I don't think I'm in position to tell some other successful esports how they're running it. They're doing it, and they have people who are qualified and making some choices, and I respect that. PUBG, you don't get that feeling, and you really see things that aren't being done properly.
Yeah, but in PUBG, it seems like there's some people that are pulling all the strings that we don't know about. We don't know what they're thinking, why they're doing that, and it just remains on that. That's it. They're gonna make a decision. It's gonna be that, and that's it. And no one. We're all just looking at it and trying to figure out why it's been made. That's the way it seems. Somewhere, I guess in Korea, most of their decision makers are Korean. They're catered towards the Korean or the Asian market or China or whatever they're focusing on, and the rest is just, if it does good, it does good. If it doesn't, well, rip. What can you do? That's the feel that I get from it.
Absolutely. Like, I'd say the one event in 2019 I thought exceeded expectations was the Nations Cup. Viewership was really high. It was in Korea. It was well organized. Maybe not well promoted. I don't think most things in PUBG are well promoted, but it had high viewership, and it's not, let's say, the most expensive event. It's not like they had the biggest prizes and things. And like you don't see them like taking things they do well and like building on that. It's like that whatever happened from that one, to me, that was one of the bright spots. Is like, hey, clearly that formula worked well. Maybe we should do more of those events, or what GLA does, some of their events, like nations competing and things like that. I don't know, but you can maybe get better viewership for cheaper here and here, and I would totally understand them trying things like that. But no, it sort of disappeared, and then you had, I don't know. But yeah, I have no idea why decisions are made. Said probably comes from like some sort of head office in Korea.
Yeah,
I hope so. I don't say hope so, but I assume so, because if it was in North America or Europe, I have no idea why I can't get responses, why other orgs can't get responses. I mean, main communication language is English.
Hopefully it's not their fault,
The questions are very basic. A lot of them are very basic. When is this happening? When are we expecting the money to come for this? Like, I don't know. It's funny. It's like I came into the PUBG thing a bit like as an organization and from a business perspective. How am I going to run it? How sponsors? But all that ended up happening is myself and everyone else is like, we're thinking about what we would do if we were in PUBG shoes. Like, where it's almost like now they should hire me or something. I would do a better job. I'm not going to say, but a lot of people are getting that feeling like you almost want to do that because we want to save the game as a sport. And I think it's actually important as an esport for PUBG to do well, to maintain like having a successful esport should be seen as a investment from PUBG Corp, like a worthy investment to maintain not their viewership,
just the longevity of the game,
player base, the longevity of the game. So it's not just like for selfish reasons, as for the game itself. In a battle royale genre, we don't know how long it's gonna last, or if new games will come out. That having a sustainable esports system is very important for the sustainability of just the player base of the game.
Yeah.
That's been shown in other cases. So yeah, now it's like from PUBG's perspective, I hope that they hired some like good guys that are going to just come in and clean house, like fire everyone, hire good people, make the tough choices, but also just like, I don't think a game can really succeed when there's such a disconnect from the game and the people involved in the esports. I don't know, it's out of all, I don't know.
But it seems like
for me.
They're doing the exact same poor job at the game, like the core game, as they're doing in esports, and it seems like the whole system needs a huge overhaul within PUBG Corp. You can definitely see similar mistakes in both in-game and out of the game in the esports world and everything else.
I usually follow you and maybe like Wacky Jackie for the actual gameplay. What's good, what's bad, and you guys communicate so well to the audiences, like viewers, also just tweeting. It's good to have that awareness out, but I often get the feeling that changes are made with, I don't know, due diligence would be the word, like checking. But I see that in the game as well. And it's like PUBG was extremely profitable in 20. So I think 2018 they had 700 million in profit, something like that.
Who knows? Yeah, it's just like something.
They're really actually like doing well financially in a lot of ways. So they have money to invest in esports. They probably originally thought that, and investing into the game itself. So it's not like a dying game, you know, and the mobile's doing well. It's not a dying game. It's just not using resources properly, not hiring the right people. But they have the money to take a loss and still fix it around. And let's say hire the right people, optimize the game. It's not like the game is just broken. We have a small player base. They still have the resources.
Yeah.
Change around, which not every game does. But it's really the window's shrinking.
Yeah.
As more and more people get fed up. And I was always telling myself like I was gonna get my good rant on PUBG because I haven't tweeted about it, I haven't like released videos or something. So this is my chance for a full year. Not the worst rant, but I'm pretty.
Hey, you were pretty polite there. Right? Come on,
I'm pretty fed up. The only reason I'm not going harder is like there's people who are screwed over more by me. I feel for the players, for the orgs, for the people affected that are the content creators. Are you streaming it like that? At least for me, my living is not based off of PUBG, and I do respect people trying to make a living playing PUBG. Trying to be professional in some capacity. I did it with chess. There was a risk there. I respect it in PUBG. And then everyone there who's trying to work on some side of the game is affected more by me in some way. Like I want to give them the floor for the ideas and for that. So this is it's a bit of a polite rant. I agree.
And I guess you could talk for like 10 more hours about all the things that were going on. And you know, the podcast is only about an hour, so we can't go too much. But to wrap it up, would there be anything that would get you back into competitive PUBG or as esports team owner?
Yeah, it's not a case where I'm never coming back for sure. It's like if I see positive changes, and not even like positive changes, like it's not risky anymore. It's going to be good to invest in. No, even if it's risky, even if some things are unsure, if I see positive changes that like I just like the direction things are going, I'm all open. Probably I'm going to be a bit more cautious financially in terms of like investing at maybe a lower, because now I mean prizes are lower. There's just less from a business perspective. It's probably going to be cheaper to invest in now because there's less play for, less revenue streams. So I wouldn't enter at the same, let's say, financial risk, but it's not impossible. But I need to see positive changes.
Mm-hmm.
And you usually will just simply have a feeling, is it going in the right direction? That's why I always said when you ask what the biggest issue, it just always seemed like it was just going in the wrong direction. There's bad news. If there just seems like they're doing things right, that's already enough. Like just some small changes, but you just have a feeling they're actually speaking to players and teams, viewers. Just that's already like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. All right. I guess that's it, Eric. I'd like to thank you for coming in.
Okay.
And getting it off of your chest, if nothing else. If you didn't have an opportunity before.
Thanks for asking. One thing I will say is stream level, I'm still looking forward to playing PUBG and streaming it again now that I'm back home. So
great.
So I'm not quitting PUBG. I'll go back to being a bad player, a potato, and hopefully hitting you up.
Yeah, let's get some games for sure. And you gotta coach me some 1500 blitz strats. I'm 1500 now. I'm really proud of myself. Yeah.
You're an analytical guy. I think you're doing the right. We'll take a look at it. We'll take a look at your games. We'll get you up to.
Yeah.
I don't know what your goal in chess is, but
my goal is just to be 1500. That's it.
No. There's always a high ceiling in chess, and you can always work. So
yeah. In chess, it depends on how much you want to commit to it, because it's
how much you want to commit. But you could take 2 years off, and maybe with a computer, and you know, it's at least it's always there. It's always going to be there. If you
and it's the same thing. Yeah. Doesn't change. So yeah, thank you, man, and
thank you.
I'll see you in some games.
Yes. Take care.
That's it for this episode, guys. It's very likely that we're gonna have more guests from the PUBG Esports scene, probably some from the NA region. I think it would be great to talk to someone from there to talk about MPL. Meanwhile, feel free to leave a comment on your favorite podcasting platform and leave a review. See you in the next one.